the way that I approached creating a meal plan for this client who was on a significant amount of insulin, 200 units of insulin a day, and was at her highest weight, I wanted to have her choose a meal plan that was doable for her, but that also would help her to see results with her goals. And those specifically was that she wanted to get her blood sugars down, because even though her average blood sugar wasn't excessively high, she was seeing in real time blood sugars in the 300s. And a lot of it was to do with some of the foods that she was eating. Unfortunately, she was having to eat those because she was also having these very low blood sugars. So we needed to help her get off the blood sugar roller coaster. And one of the fastest ways to do that is to choose a lower carbohydrate eating plan. Carbohydrates are the foods that make blood sugars go up, and then eventually your blood sugar will come down, especially if you're giving insulin. But to be able to minimize that spike in blood sugar, we can minimize how much carbohydrate she was eating, especially at one time. So I talked to her about the possibility of using a lower carbohydrate eating plan and how would she feel about it? Because even though I knew it was something that would be helpful for her, you don't always know if it's something that is doable for someone. And in this case, she really felt like she was so frustrated that she would try anything we suggested, especially if it would get her those results. And she did decide to choose the lower carbohydrate eating plan after we had had that discussion. One of the ways that we do that is that we choose foods on the eating plan that don't cause the blood sugar spike. Things like proteins and fats don't raise blood sugar like carbohydrates do. So we chose a plan that gave her plenty of protein and a little bit of fat for flavor and fullness. And then she got most of her carbohydrates from low carbohydrate vegetables. Another thing when I'm designing a nutrition plan for a client is not only does it need to be something that the person who is either struggling with diabetes or their weight, it's not just what they think they can do, but it's also what's going to work with their life and with their family. So a big conversation that I had with this client was, what would the family think about lower carbohydrate, higher protein eating plan? And if they are on board with it, great. And if they're not on board with it and the client's still interested, how are we going to navigate that situation? Because having that support at home or not having that support at home can really be critical to how successful somebody is with a plan that we develop. This particular client actually lost 16 pounds in the first 2 weeks of starting a meal plan. But what was interesting is that this meal plan was not necessarily given by me in person. I had worked with a physician at the time who had requested that we develop an eating plan that she could give people before they came to see us, because often there was a waiting list to get in to see me in clinical practice. So this particular woman did follow the eating plan, and this eating plan incorporated a combination of meal replacement protein shakes as well as fruits and vegetables. The meal replacement plan wasn't a completely liquid diet. It had real foods in it, but it did have a combination of protein shakes and fruits and vegetables. And she was able to follow that before she got to see me and had actually seen 16 pounds of weight loss. And when she got into my office, her biggest question is, what do I do because I'm having all these low blood sugars? So the first thing that we were able to do as she had lost that weight fairly rapidly is we were able to cut down on her insulin right away. So I was fortunate that at this time I worked in a medical setting and I could get in touch with the physicians very, very quickly, because when you do make these changes to your eating plan, we see results very quickly. So not only had she lost 16 pounds, but we needed to cut back on her insulin doses right away. So it was at this stage that we had the conversation of the meal replacement plan, or the protein shake plan, was working beautifully for her, but she said that she did not really necessarily want to do that forever. She was so glad to see the results, but now she wanted to figure out, where am I going to go from here? That's when we talked about some of the options, and she decided to choose a lower carbohydrate, higher protein eating plan, because we knew that this would continue to help her not to need as much insulin, because she wasn't eating the carbohydrate that caused the blood sugar to go